Okay. Okay, in this video I will explain how data is stored in cloud from the app. We store all data that is happening in the field, that the field technician do. We store this as in a firebase in the cloud, known as firebase. A database is a real-time database. Basically, firebase is just a big JSON object where you can subscribe on the nodes and get exchanges down to the app and so forth. So the backend interact with this database and the app interact with this database. It's kind of the connection point between the app world and the backend world. Okay. The way we use this database is very important. We use it in a event sourced fashion, and it's very important to understand how this is done, because everything we do and every new functionality we do has to follow these principles, because otherwise it will not work. We cannot kind of mix things here. And in case of the new work functionality we are developing right now, which is a functionality to where the field technician can kind of sketch something out in the field. It's very important that this stuff also works in the same way with events. But I will not talk about this right in this video. I will make another video where I'll talk about the sketch functionality and how I like that to be stored as event in Firebase. Right now I just want to show you there's some existing stuff that's already running in Firebase, some events, so you can get an idea how it works. Okay. So if you look at, I have tried to write something on the whiteboard here. It's just a copy of some data I have in the database. We're gonna see it in the real database too, but it's easier to talk about if I have this kind of drawing. So in our work functionality in the app, we know we have work functionality where we can push some tasks to the app. We call them work tasks, and each work task consists of a number of activity the user has to do. For example, we have activities like they have to fill out some forms, and they have revised the equipment in the substation, take some photos and so on. And now we also have the sketch functionality, right? And if you look at this kind of data from a traditional point of view, you can see over here, if you go here, I have kind of what we call a traditional diagram, data model diagram. It's a UML diagram where you can see we have like a work task. Work task has an ID, a name, and description, and more attributes like that. And it consists of one or more activities. And each activity has a name, description, and a status. Is it in progress? Is it, and so forth. And here we have different types of activity we support. I think we have more. I cannot remember them all. But this is the most common one, like form activity, photo activity, sketch activity, that we can choose from. Okay. So this is kind of if you look at the whole work stuff, you know, of course that's more than this, but if you look at it from a kind of traditional database-centric view, this is how you would think about it, right? But this is not how we store it in the database. We don't store it like this. We store things as events. So if you look over here, you can see how it will look if you look inside the Firebase system, the Firebase database. You will see that there's a node called work task. It's just you can say it's just a header. Underneath the work task, you will find a lot of some nodes or some entries, which is a unique ID like this. And this unique ID corresponds to the work task ID. this is a stable ID. So every time we create a work task, someone create a work task, typically in the backend, it will get a new ID like this, and it will never change. Okay. The work task, and this ID here corresponds to this object here. This is also known as an aggregate root, because this is kind of, the work task is kind of the container of everything. From a domain perspective, we think of a work task is like consists of a lot of activity that if we have to be done to fulfill whatever that work task is about, right? This is the activities, right? So this thing here is the aggregate root. An aggregate root object has underneath here, you will have a lot of timestamps. Here I have 2, and these correspond to the events happening that is related to this work task. Okay, so everything that happens in that work task comes in as event. We never change, we never delete anything, we never modify anything inside here. We only create new events. So you can imagine that when the work task gets created from the backend, there will be some events like these. The first event here, it has sequence number 1, it has an ID, and it has a type that says work task created. And then there will be some data in the event telling what this event is about. This is some kind of substation maintenance and blah 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 blah, and some attributes. So here we know, okay, we know we need to do this work task. Then there will be some events that kind of tell all the activities that has to be done as part of this work task. They also come in as event. So that's event number 2 here. It's called activity created. It's a form, and it has description say you have to power transform a checklist, and there's a lot of fields here telling what form fields that the user has to fill out if they're mandatory and all kind of stuff, pick lists and all kind of stuff. It also comes in as an event. So you say, okay, I want this activity here as part of this work task. So the system will create an event telling I want to create such an activity. Okay, so everything is event. So they will come in a long list of events here. Okay, so if you read all these events, you can build up the state model in the traditional way here, if you want to do that. There's many ways to read this and build up a state model. That's the beauty about event sourcing, is that you can build whatever state model you need from the raw events. But the events here are the first class citizen, not the data as we know from the state model. Okay, so this is very, very important to understand. This is how it works. So everything we do is by creating events, and we never change events. We only create new events. Okay, that's very important to understand. I'll give you an example here. If you can move and look here in the screen. Can you see it? To see what? Okay. I'm going to try to explain it here with some real life data. If you take this one here, I mark this here. Oh no. This is our work task ID, and this is all the stuff that happened in this work task. So you can see here the first event here. Event sequence number 1 is just the work task that is created. Then we have event number 2. This is some work activity created, and it's some kind of form. And you can see here there's a lot of fields in that form. Something about you can choose if it's not okay and okay. And there's some options. This is a Danish, because it's a Danish customer. But this is, you can see here that on the dates here, all the way down to here, they have almost the same timestamp. So these are the events coming from the backend system to create the work task and all these activities. You see here the last activity here. is some kind of activity type to revise the equipment details of a substation. And what is then interesting is when you begin to see down here something comes in here. There's an event here, the 21st February. It's funny to see what that is. You can see here that it's an activity that has been finished, work activity completed, and then you can see someone has probably filled out some stuff here. So now we have, you can see here the value. So now someone actually has filled out this form and finished this activity. And you can see here we also have something called revision information, where we can see when was it done, at what location was it done, and the user who did it. Okay. So every time someone change something and do something with this work task, a new event will be created. And I can try to do that now. I will try to do it. I have my app here on the iPad, and I can go into one of the activities, right? I take the first form activity here, and then I'm gonna change something. I'm gonna change this one. Say it's something there, and I say save. Now, if now it's fun. You have to look at that screen there, and I say now I press save. Can you see now the green one in the bottom? This is a new event that was generated and put into Firebase. Okay, containing the stuff I have done. So if you look at that event, here, you see this is the time and stamp is now, right? You can see something to do with the form here, and now you cannot see what I have done, but I have done some changes, and they will be, the data will be put into the event about the changes, right? So now this actually form activity was already completed, so it just created a complete event again. Actually, it should maybe have been some kind of revised event or something, but doesn't matter. It creates the new stuff I have modified. It puts into the event so that we can see what has been modified when. Okay, so that's how everything works. Every time you do something in the app, we create new events telling what has been changed, or what the field technician did, or whoever used the app out in real life, right? Okay, so I don't know, maybe I hope that kind of gives you an overview of how the system works, that it works with events. So it's important to think of events as the state of an object. So we have the aggregate root up here, and the state of this object can be derived by reading all events. We have cheated a little because normally you will only create events that contains exactly what that event does, but we actually make a copy of things whenever we create a new event. For example, if some activity, a form activity, someone changed something, we make a copy of it, that last event basically, and put in the changes. So that this way it's easy for the app to kind of read the latest date. It just reads the latest event from a given activity. Okay, so we kind of mix this event store syncing with some extra stuff to kind of help the app, right? So, but it's the most important thing is that we never modify these. We only create new ones. Okay, so I think that's it.